If your dance journey feels like a long-term sacrifice for like maybe a hope of a reward one day, maybe you're being way too hard on yourself. Hey dancers, it's Kirsten. Welcome back to the Confident Dancer YouTube channel. Today, I want to talk about the signs that you are actually being way too hard on yourself as a dancer. And I'm making this video because I know that this topic is full of fine lines and I want to talk about them. If there's anything that I'm passionate about as a person, it is talking about nuances and fine lines that are rarely discussed so that we can find clarity amidst difficult topics like how do I know as a dancer if I'm being too hard on myself, if I'm pushing myself too hard? Am I pushing myself enough? Or is it not enough? I don't know. And we're at the place of exhaustion and we're being so critical of our work. If you find yourself in the place of asking that question for yourself and you're like, are my standards too high for myself or not high enough? I don't know. Let's talk about that, and I hope through this video you find some encouragement and some clarity, and I'm also going to give you some pointers on what it looks like from my experience as a professional dancer, and then also in my work as a high-performance mindset coach for dancers. I specialize in working with pre-professional and early professional ballet dancers to really develop authentic confidence and overcome the mental struggles that hold them back from performing their best and feeling their best. So I hear this topic a lot coming up in our coaching sessions. I've worked with dancers a lot on releasing expectations for themselves that are really unhelpful and way too high to adopt a work ethic that works for them and an expectation that works for them. So with all that experience, I do want to bring in some practical tips on what does it look like to have healthy expectations for yourself and a healthy work ethic. So you're going to leave this video, if you watch the whole thing, with that information, and I really hope that you enjoy. So keep on watching. Sign number one that you are being too hard on yourself is that if you don't meet your expectations or your plan for yourself by the end of the day, you find yourself either punishing yourself through maybe you need to eat a smaller meal, you need to do more cardio later, or another way of putting it is the next day or even that evening, you feel like you have to do something to make up for your loss. You failed, you didn't meet your expectation, you had shortcomings. Anytime you notice shortcomings, just start to notice your reaction to it. Do you start to have this kind of mathematical mentality where it's like, okay, now I have to make up for it. I have to do something to make it better. Or on the flip side, sure, maybe it's completely normal and human to have expectations for yourself and then to feel a little disappointed when you don't meet it. And sure, maybe it is a healthy response for you in your context to say like, okay, well, here's what I'm going to do about it. I'm just going to cross train a little bit more later, or I'm going to practice my releves on one leg because my fouettes weren't going super well. I think I need to work on that. That is different than having that internal narrative of that wasn't good enough and I have to make up for it. Instead of having that perspective of you are making up for a loss or filling in an inadequacy that you have personally, it's more of the healthy response to that might be like, okay, first you might question, were your expectations for yourself on this day realistic? What was the actual purpose of your plan? Are you just having a plan and trying to check off all the boxes to feel in control? Or was that plan an actually helpful plan for you? I think it's a very healthy response to question your expectations for yourself every once in a while, if not daily, especially if you're having a response of being really disappointed. Question, what was the expectation? And notice what the narrative is that's coming up for you around this. Is it just pretty objective? Like, okay, I would have really liked to accomplish that, have accomplished that, but I didn't. Okay. Let's just try again tomorrow? Or are you like, I'm a bad dancer, I'm not good enough, I'm always behind, I need to make up for this? Notice what the internal narrative is around it. And I also want to encourage you with this point, if you notice that your narrative or response isn't very healthy, ask yourself, what is this perspective and this behavioral pattern or this response, let's say, what is it costing you in the long run? What could it cost you? Is this sustainable for you? Is it stealing more of your satisfaction and your happiness than is actually helpful? Like, sure, as dancers, we're very acquainted with the like no pain, no gain attitude, the short-term sacrifice for long-term gain. I know that we're all about that, and there can be some constructive sides to that for sure. Discipline is great. However, if you have a mentality that is constantly stealing your satisfaction, stealing confidence from you, stealing your sense of like, I'm doing well enough, and you constantly don't feel like you're doing well enough, that's actually a mindset issue, not so much an action issue. So I really encourage you, if you are noticing that you just don't feel good enough, no matter how much you do, it's not about how much you're doing, and I really encourage you to seek support. I'm here for you in this. I definitely specialize in helping dancers release that belief that they're not good enough so that they can actually start to appreciate their progress, know what they have to offer, and have authentic confidence, and just be okay on days where they don't meet their own expectations and move on. So if that's you and you want that support, do reach out. Link is in the description to my website and whatnot, so we can get in touch. Hey dancers, I hope you're really enjoying the video so far. I just wanted to briefly talk to you about the Confident Dancer Coaching Program so that you know this resource is available to you and any other dancer you know who is tired of mental struggles like comparison, self-doubt, insecurities, imposter syndrome, performance anxiety, all of these mental struggles that are so common for us dancers, especially those of us at the pre-professional to early professional level. We know it's common, but for those of you who are struggling and are tired of struggling, you want to be a confident dancer, you want to trust yourself, you want to know what you have to offer, you want to feel good about your skill set, and you want to have the mindset that will equip you to feel your best and dance your best and accomplish your career goals. Y'all, that is what this program is about. That is why I designed it, and it is designed specifically with dancers' desires, needs, and goals in mind, so that you have support from a professional who's not only qualified as a coach and as a trainer of neuro-linguistic programming, but also with someone who has a background as a professional ballet dancer and who understands what you're going through, who understands what you want, so you don't have to explain yourself. You feel understood and supported by a professional who knows how to help you get to where you want to go. That is the support I provide in this program. So if you are interested or you know someone who is, all you have to do is click the link down below to visit kirstenkemp.com, learn more about this program, everything that it includes, how it works, read amazing testimonials from past clients, and schedule a free 30-minute consultation where you and I will have the chance to get to know each other, talk about your goals, your challenges, and see if the Confident Dancer Coaching Program would be the perfect fit to help you get from where you are to where you want to be. So I can't wait to meet with some of you. Again, apply for that free consultation. It's no strings attached. See if it's going to work for you, and go ahead and apply now because spots are limited each month to only 5 dancers. So apply now. Can't wait to talk to you, and let's get on with the rest of the video. Sign number 2 that you're being way too hard on yourself is that when you see others make a mistake, you don't think too much about it. But when you make a mistake, or you don't meet your own expectations, or you feel like you failed, you just heap judgment on yourself. You heap the feeling of shame, like, I am not doing well enough. I feel so inadequate. You feel imposter syndrome coming in. If that is your response to you making a mistake or not meeting your own expectations, that's a sign that you're really being way too hard on yourself, specifically with your expectations. The big theme in this video is, even if you don't end up changing your expectations, at least become aware of what they are and ask yourself if it would be helpful to change any of them. Are any of them really not serving you? Maybe, sure, it's nice to push towards a high goal, but if you're setting the bar so high that all you notice is how you don't meet it every day, that's not serving you. You might think it's pushing you to work harder, but the discouragement and the lack of belief that you will build as a result of a standard that's too high will work against you so much more than the gain you might get from putting in extra work out of fear. I promise you it will work against you. Yes, you can have some ideals that you stretch towards, like, hey, this is a dream for me. I'm excited to get there one day. Have your dreams, have your visions. Absolutely. Don't compromise on that. Have it. That's great. But on the day-to-day basis, are your expectations ones that might be a little stretch, but it is at the end of the day achievable? Are you meeting them more often than not? If you're not, that might be a sign to question the expectation and see if you need a different approach versus just coming to the conclusion that you're not doing well, you're a loser, you're not, all that stuff. I used to have this internal narrative, so forgive me if I speak very plainly or casually about it. I know it from experience, so I'm definitely not projecting any of that onto you guys. Let's move on to point number 3. Sign number 3 that you are being too hard on yourself is that you force yourself to consistently take action that is unsustainable for you. Maybe it's that you're trying a crazy diet every few weeks and you can really only hold on to it for a week or two or a month before you crack. Or maybe it's a cross-training routine that is just causing you to go to the point of exhaustion all the time. You have no energy left, but you're telling yourself you should be able to handle it. That is unsustainable, and it's not you that's the problem. I know that can often be the conclusion, like, oh, the assumption is I should be able to stick to this. I should have the willpower to do this. But chances are your mind and your body are kicking back into your old patterns, not because you can't do the new thing, but because you shouldn't. Your body and your mind is telling you it's not sustainable. There's a reason you're going back into your old patterns. So instead of trying to get such quick wins by taking crazy action, ask yourself, is this action something I can keep up with realistically for a year and be happy while I'm doing it? It is important to notice, is this routine sustainable on a level that is on the emotional level? Will it allow you to thrive long term? Do you have to put in so much effort to it that eventually you'll burn out? Do you have to sacrifice things that are important to you holistically as a human being in order to do it? Just question how sustainable the action you're taking is. And if you find yourself trying to throw yourself into these short-term crazy plans, chances are you are being too hard on yourself, and you might be coming from that perspective of making up for your inadequacies rather than wanting to work towards a goal that's exciting, and it is more about adding something to your life rather than filling in a hole that you perceive within yourself. Okay, my friends, let's talk about what it looks like to have a healthy work ethic. I'm excited to get into this one. I already mentioned some points and some suggestions if you find yourself not in the healthiest place, but here's specifically a picture that you can start to work towards in your life. And it might not happen overnight. That's totally okay. We're all a work in progress, so just take your time with it. But I want you to know what's possible for you through these points. Number one, you see your goals as something that is exciting to achieve. Like I said, that it's something that will add to your life. You're excited for the reward that you might get from it, not only from the end goal, but from the process of engaging with, like, you love to work because you like the process of dancing. You like to work hard. You like to overcome a challenge. Instead of being desperate to achieve an end goal, because that end goal, like the contract, getting into a certain summer intensive, getting the lead role, whatever, if you are desperate to get that because deep down you perceive that it will finally prove something to you about yourself, like you're good enough or you're going to make it one day, if you're working for that sense of, like, again, filling a hole in yourself and you're so desperate for that versus, this is something that's exciting. My life will go on if I don't get it. I will maybe be disappointed, and that's okay, but my life will go on. I'm whole and complete without it. And again, I say that it is totally okay if you have emotional reactions to not meeting your standards. That's totally okay. The goal isn't like complete non-attachment where you're like, you know what, good, I didn't care anyway. It's okay to care and get your feelings hurt, you guys. But when you are working towards a goal, ask yourself, am I just genuinely excited to engage in this process? Am I excited to gain what I can gain from this end goal? Or deep down, am I trying to reach for this because my life doesn't feel good enough right now, I don't feel good enough right now, and I'm trying to get out of that pain? And another specific point that was kind of tied into the first point, it's that the actions themselves, for the most part, to reach your higher goals are something that feel like a reward in and of themselves. They feel enjoyable. You feel connected to what the process helps you to gain as a person versus just working for an end goal. I notice a lot of dancers get really hung up on the end goal, especially those of us who are, maybe you're a pre-professional, you want to be a professional. If you find yourself having that mentality of like, one day I will be happy, when. One day I will feel good enough, when. One day I will feel confident, when this happens. That's a sign that maybe your mentality isn't the healthiest, or maybe it's not working for you as well as it could. From a psychological perspective, when you manufacture your relationship with a certain activity to where the activity itself that will help you to get towards the end goal, when the activity feels like a reward, when the activity feels like something that gives you a sense of a win, like a sense of progress, a sense of I am the person I want to be, a sense of I just like doing this for the sake of it, that is a sign that if you're working hard from that place because you like it, that's a sign that you have a healthy work ethic versus I'm going to suffer now and consistently to hopefully have a sense of satisfaction one day. There are certain contexts in which that sense of short-term, and I want to emphasize short-term sacrifice for a long-term gain, that can definitely be appropriate. But if your dance journey feels like a long-term sacrifice for like maybe a hope of a reward one day, maybe you're being way too hard on yourself. Okay, the last sign of healthy work ethic is that you are excited to pursue what you want to get out of each day, what you want to achieve in each day. But you're not so rigid in your thinking that if you don't fulfill your expectation and you are super upset about that and you feel like the whole day was trash and you have to make up for it, you have to punish yourself, whatever it is. Instead, the healthy version of this is actually noticing that when you don't meet your expectations, that you're able to, in a healthy way, embrace that that's normal. We don't always win. We don't always meet our own expectations, and that's okay. That's less of a sign of your own inadequacy or failure, and sometimes it's more of a sign that your expectations were uninformed guesses. Notice that expectations, that's really what they are. They're just guesses of like what measures we should be reaching, what we should be doing. But it's just a guess. Like when you start to be so rigid with this is where I need to be and this is what I need to do, you're going to put yourself in a position where you are falling victim to your own rigid thinking. It's a huge assumption that you think you can know where you should be, or that you think you know what's good for you or what you should achieve by the end of the day. Recognize and have a healthy acknowledgement that these are just ideals that we are aiming for because it's just the best idea that we have at the time. It's an assumption, it's subjective, it's not always objective. Sometimes it is, but not always. And so being able to have a healthy work ethic looks like having expectations, sure, intentions. I like to say intentions instead of expectations. Being adaptable to where you're able to acknowledge like, okay, well, maybe I missed the mark because of these reasons, and here's what I can learn from that. I can still learn from the experience and grow from it, even if I wasn't successful according to my original idea this morning. If you can still learn from it and reflect and question your expectations in the first place, I think that's healthy versus being like, no, I should have done all that, blah, 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 and you're super rigid. So dancers, that is all I have for you today. I hope that you really, really enjoyed this video and felt served by it. I would love to know, as always, what you think in the comments. And if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't already. And I'll see you in next week's video. All right, bye.